Today, we are unpacking one of the most intense, heavily debated topics in modern sports right now, Cristiano Ronaldo's World Cup exit with Portugal. Now look, we're not here to take sides. Instead, we're going to look strictly at the tactics, the hard numbers, and the psychology surrounding this massive football moment to really break down the arguments swirling around a true sporting legend. Let's jump right in. Okay, let's dive into this. Did Cristiano Ronaldo cost Portugal? This is the central question that absolutely dominated the fallout of the tournament. When a team stocked with this much incredible generational talent crashes out of the World Cup, the spotlight inevitably finds its biggest star. And man, this debate instantly polarized the football world. It really boiled down to one thing. Was the overall system holding Ronaldo back, or was Ronaldo holding the system back? To understand just how intense this debate got, listen to what former striker and pundit Chris Sutton had to say. Sutton didn't pull any punches at all. He sharply criticized Portugal's manager, Roberto Martínez, for keeping Ronaldo out there for the full 90 minutes. He literally said, he's waddling around the field like a granddad. Portugal are out because of Roberto Martínez. Calling an all-time great a granddad? Yeah, that shows exactly how frustrated observers were with the lack of pace and pressing. It was just a fiery indictment, not just of the player, but of the management that flat-out refused to sub him off. Section 1. The Manager's Dilemma. So to really get the tactical crossroads Martinez found himself at, we first have to acknowledge the sheer weight of Ronaldo's legacy. You just can't view this decision in a vacuum, right? We're talking about a player who became the very first to score in 6 World Cups. He has 11 goals in 27 World Cup games. He took Portugal to a 4th-place finish in his very first World Cup way back in 2006. And, as he often reminds everyone, he was the emotional driving force that helped them lift the European Championship trophy in 2016. So when the 2022 World Cup rolled around, Martinez wasn't just managing a forward. He was managing a national institution, a literal hero to millions. And this brilliantly illustrates the completely impossible choice Martinez was facing. On one hand, you have the ultimate crown jewel, keep Ronaldo on. Because, hey, if you're desperately chasing a goal in the dying minutes, he brings this undeniable, imposing physical presence in the box. He's a constant dead ball threat, and he has unmatched, battle-tested experience. But on the other hand, you have the spark of youth, subbing Goncalo Ramos on. Ramos had already scored earlier in the tournament, so he would have provided fresh, explosive energy. He brings that crucial ability to close down defenders and apply physical pressure, which is absolutely critical when you're heading into extra time against a top-tier opponent. Ultimately, Martinez chose experience, and, well, the critics absolutely let him hear it when it didn't pay off. Section 2. Passenger on the pitch. Now, this debate goes way beyond just a single substitution. Let's look at his overall impact on the team's dynamics. I really want you to focus on this number, 17. That is the number of shots Cristiano Ronaldo took during the tournament. He is, without a doubt, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, goal scorers in the history of the sport. His foundational instinct is to shoot. But critics argue that when those 17 shots aren't actually converting into goals against elite, defensively sound teams like Spain or France, you have to look really critically at what else is or isn't happening out there. But here is the statistic that serves as the absolute core of the critics' argument. 0. 17 shots taken, but 0 chances created for his teammates. The analysis here suggests that when Ronaldo isn't scoring, his lack of off-the-ball movement and failure to set up the players around him essentially turns him into a passenger. He kind of waits for the game to come to him, which forces the rest of the team to work double time to cover the structural gaps he leaves behind. And think about who was doing all that extra running, or rather, who was being weighed down by it. We are talking about Portugal's elite midfield, guys like Vitinha and Ruben Neves, who play brilliant, fluid football for PSG, right alongside the incredibly creative Bruno Fernandes. Pundits argued this was quite possibly the best midfield in the entire competition on paper. Their movement at the club level is considered virtually unplayable. Yet, during the tournament, this incredibly talented group looked completely average, just bogged down by the system they were forced to play within. So what's the result of that stagnation? Well, Portugal looked like 11 isolated individuals instead of one cohesive team. The argument here is that, sure, against lower-ranked teams, you can totally afford to carry a static star up front because you control the bulk of the possession, you dictate the pace. But against elite, highly organized nations, the margins are razor-thin. You need every single player running, closing down spaces, and operating as a unified block. Building a team around a static focal point ultimately forced Portugal out of a fluid, dynamic system and into this disjointed individual hero ball. Section 3. The ultimate foil. Now, what's really interesting about this is that you just cannot have a conversation about modern football analysis or Cristiano Ronaldo without looking at his greatest rival. The differing systems of these two legends are so stark. Argentina managed to build a system entirely around Lionel Messi because he naturally plays as a number 10. He drops deep into pockets of space, he actively cuts off passing lanes, and crucially, he acts as a playmaker, creating assists and making the players around him better. That allows Argentina to carry him when he doesn't have the ball. Ronaldo, on the flip side, plays high up on the shoulder of the defense, firmly front and center. He doesn't draw back to chase around midfielders or cut lanes in the same way. So the debate really highlights that while Argentina's system can accommodate Messi's aging legs by utilizing his playmaking, Portugal struggles to do the exact same thing with Ronaldo's specific isolated positioning. And honestly, this highlights a pretty harsh physical reality. Father Time catches up with everyone. It doesn't matter how meticulously you take care of your body, and we all know Ronaldo is globally famous for his supreme physical conditioning and strict regimen. But eventually, the top-end speed and that explosive ability to single-handedly win a game, it fades. The sharp, unstoppable Ronaldo of the past just isn't quite the same player today, and pundits argue that a firm tactical adjustment from management was entirely necessary to account for this biological reality. Section 4. The Personality Paradox. Which brings us to a really profound psychological factor. Can you actually ask an all-time great to change? Throughout the tournament, Ronaldo's body language, his tendency to refer to himself in the third person, and his very clear, visible frustration when benched were heavily scrutinized by the global media. Dealing with a sporting icon of this magnitude creates a massive double-edged sword for literally any manager. The paradox lies in his very nature. The supreme confidence that built an all-time great career is the exact same trait that prevents him from gracefully stepping aside or accepting a lesser role. He demands to be front and center. Now, the immense benefit of that is that he fearlessly takes responsibility for his team in the biggest moments. We've seen it time and time again. But the glaring drawback is that when things go wrong, as they did for Portugal, he absorbs the absolute maximum amount of criticism. He can't just chill out and fade into the background, because that's simply not how he's wired. And, this is the ultimate defense of his character, straight from the heart of the debate. That attitude of I am the best is exactly why he's one of the best. You cannot ask a player who has dominated global football for 2 decades through sheer unyielding willpower and arrogance to suddenly become a humble background player. It's just not going to happen. You see this in top CEOs and global leaders too. You can't simply strip away their core identity when it's the very engine that drove their unimaginable success in the first place. So what does this all mean? Well, we are witnessing the complex, often messy twilight of a legendary career. Is it time for players of his immense stature to quietly step aside to let a new golden generation take the reins? Or is a legend spotlight simply too bright to ever truly fade? It's a fascinating question about how we handle sporting mortality. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this breakdown helped clarify the many layers of a truly unforgettable debate. Catch you next time.